Wonderful to see you again, Alberto. You're mostly welcome to Livsenergi.
Thank you. Good to be with you again, Alexandra.
You know, it's actually 3 years, more or less, exactly 3 years since we spoke the last time, because then we were about to launch The Heart of the Shaman.
That's right.
That's your last book since before the book that we're going to talk about today. But and at that point, you actually told me that I'm not going to write any more books.
Well,
do you remember?
My mind. I've actually written another book that you haven't published called Grow a New Body. And I think that that's my most important book, because we're now not only looking for healing, but we're becoming a new species of human that's appearing on the planet today. And that doesn't get sick, that doesn't have to die from cancer, that doesn't have to have dementia. And the shamans of old knew how to do that. And this is where cutting edge science meets the ancient wisdom.
But do you know that my friend Eva at Vattumannen, she published one spirit medicine that is the previous version of.
That's right. Okay, so you didn't get that one. Too bad. All right.
It was before my time, actually. I started this. I took over Livsenergi 6 years ago, and I didn't know about this book at that point. But we have had it in the book club, and we still have it, I think, if it's still on the market. So it's been a very, very important book for our book club members.
Excellent. I'm happy to hear that. And I will be sure to send you the next book before anybody else looks at it.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to it. So let me just quickly introduce you, Alberto, because this is the first recording that we do with you, even though we have several books in stock with you. So, Alberto Villoldo, this list is quite long. So, medical anthropologist, a devoted student of the healing practices of the Amazons and Andean shamans, director of the training centers, the Four Winds Society and the Light Body School, author of many books and oracle card decks, among others, The Four Insights, De fyra insikterna, One Spirit Medicine, Andernas medicin, and The Heart of the Shaman, Schamanens hjärta. So this is you in 20 seconds. Did I miss anything important?
No, I think that for 20 seconds you did a very good job. And so this is this is a summary of my books, and my work has really been around recovering an ancient wisdom that we have lost in the West. When we became scientific, we took all, the human being by nature, the human brain is superstitious. It wants to believe in things that avoid pain and avoid looking at the deeper questions of life. So we go to religion that promises us absurd things that we're never going to find. We trick ourselves into believing lies, because the truth sometimes requires a lot of work and exploration. But it's so simple. The truth has always been in front of us, and this requires a more feminine approach to discovering truth, and not the masculine approach of science, which means that you have to take it to the laboratory, you have to kill it before you can study it. So the shamanic wisdom says, hey, yes, you can experience the deep truths about healing and about the universe by looking within and by taking a more feminine, engaging approach and not analyzing it to death. And this is what my new book is about. The wisdom wheel is about how do we come to those deep truths about who we are, about the nature of our mission here in the universe, and about how we can co-create reality by doing what the shamans call dreaming the world into being.
Yeah. We're really looking forward to this book, and it's going to be launched in the book club. We always launch everything first in the book club, and then we release it to everyone else. in the beginning of September. So we're super happy about it. And you've made a wonderful book. Even the looks of it is really wonderful, I think. So
Thank you.
what made you write this book? Because as we talked about, you said before, no, I'm not going to write any more books. I'm doing oracle cards.
Yep. But I also said when I was a young man, I'm never going to fall in love again. It's too complicated. And I did.
And you did.
And so I wrote this book because I was compelled because of the times we're living in, of great crisis. There's war, there's epidemic, there's famine, and there's financial collapse, there's ecological systems are threatening extinction of human life and other life forms. But for the shamans, this has always been the time when we can quantum leap to become a new species. And this book is not about healing any longer. This book is about becoming a new human that's Homo Luminous. Not thinking human, but luminous humans, where we can step into our role as co-creators. And it begins by creating the reality you live in. How do you not just create a better life for yourself, but create an entirely new relationship with your destiny and with beauty? And how do you become a caretaker of the earth? And not only a caretaker of your immediate garden. And this is a very exciting time because there's a new level of opportunity for humanity.
Can I tell you a beautiful synchronicity? When I've been looking for a book about the medicine wheel for quite some time. And all of a sudden, it was like you heard my dreams, like you heard my wishes. All of a sudden, you were just there with the wisdom wheel, and I thought, yeah, of
you
course.
showed up in my dreams and said, Alberto, you have to write this book that I need. And I said, of course, Alexandra. Here we are.
Here we are.
It's become a bestseller internationally. So I'm really happy that you commanded me to do this.
Yeah, of course, I'm the reason for your success, right? So, Alberto, the medicine wheel and or the wisdom wheel, what's the difference? Where does the wisdom wheel come in, and what is, yeah, so let's talk about the medicine wheel and the wisdom wheel.
Well, the wisdom wheel is the medicine wheel, but it's the medicine wheel that's three-dimensional now. The medicine wheel we're most familiar with is it's one-dimensional. It's like a piece of paper, and it's a guide, it's a map to healing and to awakening. Now, the wisdom wheel is not flat. It's a spiral that keeps turning upwards and going through the four directions, but each one of the steps now is at another level. So it's not only about healing yourself from your childhood trauma, but about repairing the trauma of humanity. It's not about healing the way that death lives within us. We're all terrified of dying and of getting sick and getting old, but it's about stepping beyond that and turning death into your ally and befriending your demons and not having to battle your demons. And then it's not only about the north direction, about how do you recover your soul and your destiny, but it's about crafting a new destiny for the whole of humanity. Because see, here I remember when the book The Secret and all of these ideas about how you create your own reality came about. And it's true, we do create it. But the reason that it doesn't work for most people is that they want to create their own reality. I want to have a better house, a better car, a better looking spouse, and a better looking dog. It doesn't work. You cannot begin with you. You have to begin by creating the entire cosmos and then the health of the earth and the destiny of your garden and of nature around you, and then your village and your house, your family, and then you. And then it all happens. It all works. So this is what the wisdom wheel is about, is the secret of the ancients for creating worlds.
It sounds a bit overwhelming when you explain it that way, that we should start with the world and then we come to ourselves at the
Yeah,
last point. So is there a guidance here on how to do this?
yeah, that's what the book is. The book is the steps for creating your world. And your world is also your immediate world.
Mhm.
But you need to have the vision of how what your part is in bringing beauty and healing to the entire world, to the plants and to the animals and to the bees and to the to your village and to, so yes, it's not, it's you connected to all of nature and not separate from nature any longer.
So being spiritually interested, it gives us one step ahead in this journey, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. See, I remember when I was a boy and I went to Sunday school, that I was taught that we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, that we no longer belonged in the garden, that
Mm.
we were kicked out by God. We just misbehaved. And it's interesting because I remember the story said that God came into the garden and looked for Adam and Eve, and they were not around, they were hiding. And God said, "Why are you hiding? Where are you?" And Adam said, "Because we're ashamed, because we're naked, we're ashamed." So the Western story of creation, our story, the very first emotion that we feel, the very first feeling is shame.
Ah, sad.
And, and this is at the root of so many of our problems, is because shame doesn't mean that you did something bad. Shame means that you are bad. You're not a good person, that you don't deserve, to be in the garden, that you're bad, that you're, and when they have done studies, scientists have done studies on very successful people that belong to the YPO, the Young Presidents Organization, presidents of successful companies, 85% of them suffer from something called the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Which means that they're afraid they're going to be discovered at any time.
Mm.
I know it myself. Somebody introduces me and says, "Oh, he's the author of 20 books." And I go, "Oh, I hope they don't find out I really don't know anything."
But
And
don't
that's,
you think that most people have this feeling
of
every now?
course, we do. And that comes from our original feeling of shame that we're not worthy.
Yeah.
So when we heal this, we can go back to the garden. We can go back to nature. We go back to speaking with God and talking to the rivers and the trees. We're not exiles from our original nature. So this is healing. That first terrible emotion is so important.
Mm.
And we do it by making our way back through the gate of the serpent. We got to meet the serpent again. Remember, the serpent is the one that got us into trouble. The
That's
serpent didn't
true.
get us. Yeah, the serpent didn't get us. The serpent was the guardian of the tree of wisdom and gave that wisdom, the fruit of wisdom, to the woman because the man was too busy watching football. So it was the feminine that receives the wisdom, and that's why it's the wisdom wheel. That
Ah,
we go back to receive that wisdom about what our capabilities are as humans to dream worlds into being.
yeah. You talk a lot about the feminine energies in the book. So, what are them, if you were to describe the differences between the masculine and the feminine energies?
Well, the masculine we know is scientific. It's dissecting. It wants to go to the atom, to go deeper into into the individual parts. The feminine is holistic. It's totality. It's the masculine says you cannot understand the world until you understand how a blade of grass turns light into, through photosynthesis, into life.
Science.
And feminine says you cannot understand a blade of grass until you understand how the universe works. So it's a
I
different approach.
recognize this.
Both of these are really important.
Yeah.
But today we have oversubscribed to the masculine, feminine, reductionistic, even about our health.
Mm.
And And the book tells you how to create, shows you how to create extraordinary health.
Yeah. In a few minutes, I would like to go through each step. Like you have the wisdom or the medicine wheel consists of 4 directions, and they have a connected power animal to it. So let's go into this in a few minutes. I just want to just dig back to you, Alberto. Who are you? Where are you from? And what made you so interested in the shamanic field and healing aspects from the Amazons?
You know, first of all, Alexandra, it's important to know that the shamanic cultures around the world understand that we come back, that we reincarnate, that death is not permanent. It's, that you've not always been a blonde-haired Swedish woman. You've lived in Africa and former lives in Australia. You've been an Aboriginal. You have been different skin colors. You've been man, woman, brown, and we have all of us who are called to this work have had many lifetimes as medicine women and medicine men. And we're coming back to a very familiar teaching. I also have had that experience. So even though I trained in science, I remember as part of my shamanic training, I've remembered all the times that I've lived, and it's kind of like remembering your childhood. There were some moments that are important. Most of us you can do away with. But in terms of the wisdom that you bring with you when you awaken that wisdom, that ancient wisdom, suddenly there's a knowingness. And this is what drew me to, what compelled me to the shamanic work was the remembering of the many lives that I've had meditating in a stone temple above the snow line and sitting around a fire with the buffalo behind us. And that's why we occasionally run into each other also. We say, hey, don't I know you from when we were sitting together around the fire 600 years ago? And we think we recognize each other. We don't know from where or how, but it's because we have practiced and prayed and laughed together many times around a sacred fire. And we have chosen to come back. We're a very big tribe of people dedicated to this next step in evolution that have chosen to reincarnate together. And that's what drew me to leave my laboratory at the university. I had a comfortable position at the University of California with my own laboratory, looking at how the brain works. And I said, hey, I'm in the wrong place. I had to be in the Amazon because science, Western science is fascinating, but it's the sacred science that I was really called to.
Yeah. And the combination with your knowledge of the human body and our behaviors, it must be a very good combination to teach the rest of the world.
Yeah, this is how your mind creates your health, how your mind can heal you or it can kill you, how your thoughts can keep you trapped in a very small prison or they can liberate you. And you don't learn this in the laboratory, but the wisdom wheel of the ancients says, yes, everything is a product of the mind, and the mind isn't in the brain, the mind is in the heart. Oh, but I always thought the mind was in the brain. No, you're wrong, Alberto. It's in the heart, it's in your feelings and in your experience, and the gateway through it is healing that experience of shame. That's the gate that we have to go and heal. And then we can accept ourselves and accept some of our extraordinary, miraculous potentials because we no longer feel that we don't deserve.
Have you had an epiphany where you understood something about yourself and your connection to the shamanic field or spirituality overall?
Yeah, the most recent one is when I was, as an anthropologist, I've been in jungles around the world. And 10 years ago, I wasn't feeling well. And I was given a diagnosis, a terrible diagnosis, told to get a liver transplant because my liver was dead, because I had parasites that I had picked up in the jungles of Asia and in the savannas in Africa, working with the shamans. And I picked up these parasites that had killed my liver, and I had to grow a new body. I had to use a shamanic energy medicine to heal, repair, and regenerate my liver, my heart, and my brain. So death is a way of waking you up to what's really important. When you get a death sentence, you go, wow, what have I been postponing all my life that I need to begin to do now? So that's what resulted in my book, Grow a New Body. I grew a new body and healed myself and grew a body that's healthier than I have been in the last 25 years.
It's fantastic.
So that was the most recent epiphany, and saying, hey, it's not only about growing a new body, it's really about growing a new human.
And that's not only based on what you eat, it's also based on what you think and what you do and how you turn to earth, right?
Absolutely. But it has to include the 4 levels and the 4 animals of the wisdom wheel: the serpent, the jaguar, the hummingbird, and the eagle. At the level of serpent is the body. You've got to feed it right. You've got to give it what it needs. You cannot grow a new body on potato chips, for example.
I'm trying to tell my children about this.
Trying to tell them that, yeah. And then it has to have the jaguar medicine. The jaguar medicine is about healing your emotions, healing the shame that we inherited. It's about the process of transforming the emotions from toxic emotions into life-affirming. And then at the level of hummingbird, you need a life map, a map for the journey and a compass. But the map has to be a sacred map, not just a career map or raising the children or going to. What's your great sacred map about your journey, your heroic journey in this life? And then at the level of, sorry?
And then the 4th direction,
and then at the level of the eagle, it has to be about the energetics in your field that support the other 3 levels. Because good food alone won't do it. Good emotions alone won't do it. And a sacred practice, meditating alone, won't do it unless you have the energetics unless you can clear your field from all of the imprints of trauma that we have brought with us from our childhood and from previous lifetimes. And it's not that hard to do.
Can you do it yourself, or do you need a shamanic leader or guidance on the way?
So you need guidance, but it doesn't have to be a person. It can be a book like this book, and it can be your own inner guidance. Ultimately, that's your most reliable guide.
Of course. So we have these. Sorry, it sounds like I'm being repetitive here, but if we have the wheel, we have 4 directions and each power animal to it. So the first direction is the south, right?
It's the serpent direction in the south, yeah.
Yeah, and it needs to be south first. So you use this wheel in a certain order.
Yeah, you begin in the south because it really, you begin with your personal healing, which is a serpent medicine. And that's why when you see the medical emblem, it's a serpent. It's a serpent that acquires wings. You begin with the serpent. You begin with the serpent in the garden that gives us the fruit of wisdom. We have to go back to that serpent. In the East, the serpent is the Kundalini. It's the energy of Kundalini, of the awakening of wisdom. And you find that the old goddesses, the European goddesses, all had serpents wrapped around their arms.
Right.
So you begin with the awakening of that serpent and that serpent wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And that serpent wisdom is sensual. It's a connection with the body. It's your sexuality, your passion. It's your regenerative power. The DNA coil is like a coiled serpent, the double helix. So yes, that's how you begin. And it's not so much a direction, but a symbol. You don't need to face, you don't need to turn towards Italy to begin this work. You need to turn within.
Of course. And then you have the next direction and power animal after that.
Yeah, and then it's the jaguar. The jaguar is about defeating fear, about meeting everything that you're terrified of, the demons that you have, and befriending them. So you stop battling them. You no longer need to combat your demons, but you turn them into allies. Very important. So we don't spend another 10 years working on ourselves.
That's true. So why do you think this the direction of the jaguar is the west, and the direction of the hummingbird is the north? What, since this is an ancient wisdom, why have they chosen these directions to?
Well, it's the in different cultures you have the directions. You have the animals associated with different directions. Depends on what your native animals are. For example, you don't have hummingbirds. So this is, which is too bad. But this is a map that comes from the Amazon and the Andes Mountains. But it doesn't matter what the animal is, it's really what it represents. It represents a journey. So the hummingbird teaches you to drink only from the nectar of flowers, not to drink from the crap, from the garbage. But I study psychology, and I spent so many years working on my garbage, on my stuff, that I became a bad habit, that I stopped looking at the flowers. And my little hummingbird, before I went to the flowers, would go to the dung pile to work on my stuff some more. And I said, no, you've worked on your stuff already. You've done that. Let it be turned into fertilizer. Let nature turn it. Go for the flowers. Drink from the nectar. But I had so much shame in me. I had so much sense of lack of self-worth, of not loving myself, that I said, I don't deserve flowers. And I had to heal that shame. And the way you heal it is by going back to the mother, going back to the garden, going back to the earth, our mother who never left us. And then she is the goddess. She's the divine feminine, the goddess that heals the shame within you. You don't heal it through psychology.
No, not all the way. It can be part of the way, couldn't it?
Of course. Yeah, psychology allows you to understand. It's very important.
Yeah.
But
I'm a fan of the combination, because I think the combination is very effective.
Yeah, totally.
So so just running through. So we talked about the serpent, the jaguar, and then we have the hummingbird, and then we have the eagle in the east.
Yes. But let's not leave the hummingbird yet.
Good.
Because the hummingbird is about the hero's journey. And the reason the ancients selected a hummingbird is because they are the great travelers. They travel from Brazil all the way to Canada. And they weren't even supposed to be able to fly. They're
so small.
They're little ones. Yeah, they say that they fly behind the geese. The geese migrate. That they fly behind the geese, and they were not even designed for flight. And they don't sit around saying, well, we don't have any flowers that we can drink until we get to Cuba. They go on the hero's journey, and they don't keep postponing it. They don't say, well, when the children grow up, maybe I'll respond to my calling from spirit, or when I have enough money, or I have enough time. So it's interesting. I got a call a couple of months ago from a friend who had wanted to train with us for a long time. He wanted to do the shaman training and the self-healing. And he said, Alberto, I don't have enough money to do your program. And the issue was not really money, but he felt he did not have enough money. And then he got a diagnosis. And then he spent all of this money going from one doctor to the next doctor. Once he was scared for his life. So we need to give ourselves permission to say yes to our calling today, not when we get a diagnosis, not when our life is threatened, not when we are terrified, but to give ourselves permission to go on the great journey without any guarantees.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest step for most of us. We have to wait until we get a diagnosis. I did in many ways, even though I have been doing this all my life. When the doctor said, get on the liver transplant list, I said, oh my God, what? And so that's just human nature. So it's good when you listen to the call. They say that you want to hear God on a whisper, while God is still whispering to you, and not when you get hit over the head with a stick.
Exactly. Yeah. So just a parenthesis, did you avoid the transplant?
Oh yeah. I grew a new liver and a new heart and repaired my brain with energy medicine and with some of the plant medicine. So yes, I have a whole new body that's I was just hiking in Peru in the holy mountains for 2 weeks at 5,000 meters altitude.
That's hard because I've been there and I've tried it and it's hard.
Well, come with us next year.
I will. Is it
Yeah.
with the Four Winds Society?
It's at the Four Winds Society, and I have dear friends that do sacred music, Deva Premal and Miten. I don't know if you know them.
Yes, of course.
And we
I
did a
think
program.
she gets here sometimes.
We do it every year. We do a program together in the Andes for a week of shamanism and sacred music.
Oh.
And we'll do it again next year. We did it this year. And then right after that, I went off to the mountains with a small group to meet the shamans at their high and holy places. And I had no trouble. It was wonderful. My body responded so nicely.
Beautiful. It's lovely to hear. So everything is possible if you just get your mind into it.
It's not only your mind, you have to get your soul invested in it. You have to go on that hummingbird journey. You have to decide, well, maybe it won't be as comfortable, but it's a sacred journey. That's where the sacred map comes in. So, and then you have the eagle journey, of course. Well, the eagle knows no obstacles. It simply flies higher, flies over them. So it doesn't have any obstacles. And the eagle medicine is about daring to dream the impossible, dreaming the world into being, not simply improving it, but dreaming a whole new world into being. So that's the eagle medicine. And that's where we are today, that our world is so broken that it's beyond fixing. We need a whole new one. Our brains are so broken by the toxins in our food and in our water that we need to grow a new brain, so that we can have a new mind that allows us to really explore what we're capable of doing here in this planet.
Is it possible that one person who enters into the medicine or wisdom wheel could feel very content and at home with certain power animals and not as comfortable with others? So, for example, and in the wrong order. Is it possible to be more in line with the eagle before you're in line with the serpent?
Of course. But that's just the mind getting in the way. The serpent is your own sexuality.
Yeah.
So many of us are uncomfortable with our own sexuality.
Yeah.
and we have with our own bodies. We're so uncomfortable with our own bodies. You know, I've got this little area around my waist that I can't get rid of, no matter how much exercise I do. And I go, well, that's so we have to embrace who we are, our bodies, our sexuality, our sense of, and that's the serpent. Serpent says, look at who you are and love it, own it, and it's very challenging sometimes. Look at your intimacy. Look at the for example, just to go into sexuality for a while, if we may, such a large percentage of women are not orgasmic.
No.
In
No,
America, close to 60%. But even more men are not orgasmic because they confuse ejaculation with orgasm. Orgasm is this experience of bonding and uniting with the other, and ejaculation is just simply getting your semen out of your body. They confuse the two. For men, this is so challenging. Sexuality is about conquest. It's about, you know, and then it's over that quickly. And it's so, the serpent says, be comfortable with your body, explore where you begin to lose control. Men are afraid to lose control. The masculine doesn't want to lose control, even in bed.
Have you studied this? Have you talked to men about this? What is it that they don't they feel that how do you say that supernatural feeling of an orgasm?
I have not only talked to men, I've read the books and I've talked to myself about it. So this is the great moment where you release control and where you come to meet the other. And so when you're a man and you first meet a woman that you love, you tell her, I love you exactly like you are. And then after a couple of years, the man will say, I love you exactly like I am.
And the women to the men as well.
And as well. So this is serpent. Serpent is about learning about intimacy with yourself, with nature, with your body, and with the other. And because when you come to the north, that experience of communion with spirit is orgasmic. And if you're not able to experience it physically, you're not going to be able to experience it with God.
True.
So this is where the wisdom wheel explores. It's safe if we have this metaphysical exploration, but we need to embark on the wheel. We need to meet the serpent and receive that fruit of wisdom, and that's the beginning of the journey. And that's what religion tells us we cannot do.
Yeah, that's very true, because it's a set of rules and not really guiding. It's more of a format to follow.
And then if you break the rules, of course, you get punished. So here we're about breaking the rules.
Yes.
And coming up with a new set of rules.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's more me. So I like your books because they are always they're never too much. They're never too overwhelming. You can have a lot. You can learn a lot. You can do a lot with your life in this portion of pages that you can actually go through. So thank you for being how do you say give me the word, Alberto.
I love to see you suffer through this.
It's digestible.
Yeah. It's the wisdom wheel is it's really about embracing the great wisdom and not just another little drop of knowledge, but drinking the entire ocean with one gulp. About taking the entire cosmos in all at once and not little by little. And this is where we are as humanity. We're at a place where we cannot get a little better each day, but we need to become the new human today. So thank you for inviting me to be with you, Alexandra. It's a pleasure always. And
Thank you for spending the time with me. I know you have to go. So you are now in Chile?
I'm in Chile for now, and then I go to the US shortly, and then to Europe.
Oh, yes.
When are you going to do a program in Stockholm?
Are you? When?
I don't know. I love Stockholm, and I keep saying that I'll go back in the summer sometime. So I look forward to doing that, and I look forward to continuing working with you.
Can you let me know when you're coming?
I absolutely will.
Wonderful. I'd love to meet you, and if there's any chance I can have some of my members meet you, that would be wonderful.
We'll plan on that. Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, and thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.